Ambassador Crypto, what made you decide to go and attend this meme coin conference today?
It's a big industry, and we want to beat China at the industry. We're leading with crypto. We're leading with AI. And I really feel I have an obligation from this. As a president, I have to be able to make sure that all of our industries do well. Crypto is a big industry. It's become somewhat mainstream. The banks have it, people have it, and I think as the leader of the country, we want to lead in AI. And we're leading China by a lot in AI, and we're also leading in crypto.
President Trump, right before he hosted nearly 300 of the top buyers of his Trump meme coin at Mar-a-Lago on Saturday. That event billed as the, quote, most exclusive crypto and business conference in the world. But it comes at a time when the meme coin is facing significant headwinds, to put it mildly. Let's bring in former Treasury official, Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner with charts on the relationship between cryptocurrency and the Trump administration, and more specifically, the Trump family. Steve, good morning. Great to see you. So let's start with the big picture about Donald Trump, his personal wealth since he came back to office, how he's doing.
Exactly, Willie. I was going to suggest we start with the big picture, because if you look at Trump's net worth in the fullness of time, and Forbes, as you know, does a really great job of dissecting the wealth of many wealthy people, going all the way back to 2001, the family, and Trump particularly, was worth under $2 billion, and he gradually grew his net worth. Then you had the financial crisis. He took a hit like almost everybody else. He grew it back up. But in Trump 1.0, his net worth actually went down pretty substantially. A bit of that was COVID, but a lot was the fact that he put guardrails around the kinds of things they would do. They wouldn't do international deals and so on and so forth, and he actually was acting like a normal president. Then he had his 4 years in the wilderness, and not much happened. Now, 2 years into term two, look what happens. His net worth goes from $2.3 billion to $6.5 billion. All of this is crypto in one form or another. He has become the crypto king, even though during Trump 1.0, he was against crypto. He thought crypto was kind of a scam, which it kind of is, as we know. So where did the money come from? He had $4 billion, he and his family, of profits. $3 billion of it came from crypto. And I will tell you, there are so many transactions here, so many structures. It made my head hurt even trying to understand it. But just to give you an example, he took Trump Media, which is the company he started to create Truth Social, and it raised a bunch of money from investors, and he went out and bought a whole bunch of crypto with that. He sold meme coins. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, but remember the dollar Trump, dollar Melania coins, all that contributed profit. So crypto, 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 crypto all the way. Made some money from finance. This is Jared raising all of his money from the Middle East and the profits that are anticipated from it. And then there were also some benefits he got. For example, he raised the admission fee at Mar-a-Lago from $100,000 to $1 million. The money he took from the law firms and the other companies as part of his lawsuit campaign, the Qatari jet. But crypto is really what dominates the $3 billion that he added to his net worth.
So let's talk about that meme coin, because so much of this money is coming from crypto. You're calling it here a ripoff. Can you explain exactly what the meme coin is and why you say it's a ripoff?
Well, explaining exactly would probably take me most of the remaining 4 hours that you have this morning, but because it's really complicated. But generally speaking, what he did was he created something called the dollar Trump coin, and you'll also remember there was a dollar Melania coin a little bit later. It is a coin that means nothing. It is like buying a pet rock, except you don't even get a rock. It has no value. It has no trading value. It's not used in commerce, nothing. They sold them initially at $7. It went all the way up to $45. Not surprisingly, it crashed. This was the first dinner. The one that you mentioned was the second dinner, but the first dinner he did for his biggest buyers of the crypto back here in the spring of 2025. And the one he just did, which was coincidentally at Mar-a-Lago a few hours before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we know what happened there, actually had no effect on the value of crypto, and so of this crypto, and so the world was kind of onto him. But look what else has happened here. So there have been found to be 45 what are called whale wallets, huge buyers of this stuff early on in the process. Then as crypto went up, these whales, and it could include Trump, but we don't even know who it includes. It could include a lot of foreigners, people who are tipped off. They made $1.2 billion. Trump, we know, made about $600 million in trading fees and so forth on this. But who lost? Who lost were 2 million innocent Americans who bought this thing because they thought Trump was great or whatever. They lost $4.3 billion by buying up here and now owning something that is worth less than $3. And it isn't even something. It's not even, as I said before, you get nothing when you buy this thing except a little digital something.
So, Steve, I want you to further explain the scam here, because what happens is these insiders, they know. Point to where, let's go on Steve's chart. Point all the way to the left, Steve, to the bottom. Yeah. All right, so this is the point where all of these insiders know, these whales know that Trump's about to put a coin out. Okay, so what do? They buy it up. They buy it up. They buy it up. And it skyrockets, go to the top.
Yeah.
Steve, so they go up. That's the profit that the billionaires and the insiders make. And then the public goes, oh, wait, look, it's going up. Well, they sell theirs, make all of their money, and then where are all those other poor suckers left, Steve?
Down here,
right there.
All the way down here. And they're out of pocket $4.3 billion for the privilege of doing that.
Now explain, Steve, if you caught people doing this and with stocks, they would go to jail the rest of their lives. But in crypto, it's okay to say, I'm about to put out a coin. You guys are going to make $1 billion off of this. Invest. They invest. It goes straight up. Then they sell when it's at its peak. They make their money, and everybody else loses. How much money did Americans lose on this?
$4.3 billion estimated, being lost by 2 million different Americans who did this. And again, Joe, let me just emphasize, it's not like they got anything. All they got, in effect, was like a little note, a little email or something saying, congratulations, you own 10 Trump meme coins, but there's nothing you can do with it. They were buying nothing. They were buying air.
Yeah, well, speaking of air, let's talk about crypto in general. It's not attached to anything. Thousands of years of history have shown us that when something's not attached to anything, gold, whatever, it's going to fall apart like tulips. Talk about how unpoliced crypto is right now and all the things that would be so illegal in any other monetary trade.
Yeah, and by the way, Trump has contributed to that, because when you look at enforcement, we did try to have enforcement against all the grifters and the people who are trying to create a coin or trying to do this or trying to do that, and a bunch of them did get convicted. But under Trump, enforcement has dropped all the way down here. He's also pardoned a number of people who got convicted of crypto abuses and set them free. And this is all his belief that crypto, as you saw in that opening clip, crypto is great for America. But remember one other thing.
Steve, let me say something really quickly here. Sure. When you talk about people that broke laws, I think what's important, and you just explained it, but let's explain it again. It's not just that some people got rich off of coins that just don't mean anything. It's that more people got scammed. Working Americans got scammed. Middle class people got scammed. Small businesses got scammed. Like these billionaires, it's an inside deal. They get richer, and middle class Americans are the ones that get pounded by this, right?
Right. That's exactly what that chart that we looked at a second ago shows, that basically the insiders knew when to buy, and they sold in time, and they sold to 2 million ordinary Americans, who then are left with something that I said has not only gone down in value so much, but it's nothing. They bought nothing. They bought nothing. But let's talk about one other piece of this thing, which are the foreigners. A lot of what I showed you before involves all kinds of foreign entanglements. The Emiratis bought into one of Trump's companies for $2 billion. 76% of the people who bought the dollar Trump coins are believed to be foreigners. 72%. This is another Trump coin, which also doesn't really do anything. 72% of them are foreigners. And so everything you see here is entangled with foreigners. They're still doing real estate.
Wait, Steve, do we know what foreigners? Do we know? Is it going to be somebody in the Communist Chinese Party? Could it be Saudi? Do we know who all of those people are who are buying info? Russians? Are there Russian oligarchs that are trying to buy influence? Do we know who bought these, who gave Trump all of this money for this crypto?
We don't know, and that's exactly your point and exactly the point, that we don't know exactly who they are. We don't even know approximately who they are.
You're saying that Vladimir Putin himself could have directed Russian oligarchs to invest billions of dollars in Trump crypto, or members of the Communist Chinese Party could have done it, or members of North Korea. We don't know who the foreigners are that have invested billions and billions of dollars into these coins that accrue to the President of the United States' benefit.
We do not know. And as I said at the beginning, one of the features of Trump 2.0 is the guardrails all came off on his own personal activities. He basically said, and he was known to have said, nobody really cared in the first term that I put these guardrails on. So now, no holds barred. I'm just going to do whatever I can do to make money. And I feel like Trump 1.0 cost me a lot of money, and it's not going to happen in Trump 2.0. And so we're off to the races with every kind of crypto deal you can imagine, every kind of foreign deal you can imagine. And we do know that some of the investors in his companies were exactly some of the people who are involved in the Iranian war at the moment, particularly the Emiratis.
All right, Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Rattner, thank you very much for bringing out those charts this morning. Incredibly revealing.